Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Grounded with Shannon, where we get curious on anxiety levels, regulation and resilience. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the topic around regulation. What is regulation? What is this big word regulation that everybody talks about? How is our brain and our emotions impacted by regulation? And then let's take a look at some practical tools that you as parents can use at home to actually move through the regulation cycle and support your children with co-regulation. So let's start with the first R of the 3 R's of regulation, which is really recognizing when you yourself as a parent are triggered or dysregulated, and also when your child is dysregulated. The first and most important step is to understand when you are dysregulated as an adult, because there is no ways that you will be able to help co-regulate with your child if you are still in a dysregulated state. So the very first thing to do is ensure that you are able to regulate your emotions, and then you can step in and support your child's emotions. So how do we recognize when we are dysregulated? Well, it's often all of the symptoms of anxiety. So a racing heart rate, sweaty palms. You will feel a little bit disorientated. You will feel yourself on edge. You will feel a sense of hypervigilance in your body. And as an example, this can happen at any point in time. And sometimes it's large scale, and sometimes it's something small that happens. For example, your child comes home from school and you sit down to start doing homework, and your child has a complete meltdown and refuses to do homework. As that's happening, more than likely you will have some form of reaction in your own system. You will start getting angry. You will start feeling very, very frustrated. At that point, that's when you know that you have become dysregulated, and you almost need to step away for a while, because there's no ways you're going to be able to sit and support your child and regulate your child in that space. So recognition is key, because as soon as we recognize that we are dysregulated, that's when the brain can start looking for resources and solutions as to what do I do next. But without the recognition, we will jump to being quite impulsive with our behavior, and we will resort to either shouting, raising our voices, really getting frustrated, and our child will feel that sense of frustration with us. So what I always say to parents, the first thing to do is try and ground yourself when you recognize the dysregulation. You might have certain grounding techniques that you use. Breath work is always amazing. So even if you pause for a moment, take 3 deep breaths. If you need to get up, walk and get a glass of water, come back, sit down. But what's critical from a brain perspective is you want to disrupt the state. You actually want to move away from the dysregulated state. Breathe, try and soothe, and then come back to that position. Once you come back and you have supported your own regulation, you can then identify what's actually happening with your child. So, and this is really important when it comes to regulation. You can't assume what's going on with your child. You can't tell them what they're feeling. You need to actually just hold presence for them in that state and just be there as a support. Once you can take up space and hold the presence for them, more than likely what will happen is they will start to offload or cry or explain why they're feeling so upset. And it's your job actually just to sit there in presence, not to try and solve anything, not to try and move them forward to the next stage of regulation, because they're still in the middle of trying to regulate. And when you start recognizing their emotions, the most important thing is to actually validate. So to say, I can see that you are feeling really frustrated right now. What is it that you need from me? And the child might say, I need you to go away. I need a hug. I need you just to sit here. And at that point in time, if you look at what's going on inside their little system, when we come back to the word dysregulation, it's all about our body not feeling safe. So at that point in time, for whatever reason and whatever emotion our child is experiencing, and it doesn't matter whether it be anger, frustration, sadness, their internal little system is not feeling safe. So they won't be able to unpack or offload until they get to a point where they feel safe. And that's where our role as parents, even if we just sit next to them and put our hand on them, is just to say, I'm here and you are safe. And it's okay to experience these emotions with me, and it's okay because we can work through them together. And I think those are very strong words that children often want to hear, is that I'm here and we're going to get through this together, because it's a sense of togetherness. I'm not alone. Often when we're dysregulated, it's quite a lonely space, and particularly for children who don't understand what's happening when they're dysregulated, they feel that they are isolated and completely alone. So in the second phase, which is obviously regulation, remember your presence is so critical. Just to be present. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to move on to solution-focused areas. You can just purely sit next to your child, put your hand on their hand and just say, I'm here. I get it. And then eventually we can start saying, you are safe. Once you can see your child starting to regulate, and this is very important, you will start noticing when your child starts to regulate, their bodies will almost go into a state of a little bit more regulation. So you'll see their shoulders will drop, their breathing will come back to normal, they will make more eye contact with you. It's also really important to actually look at their pupils when they're looking at you. If their pupils are dilated, you know that they are in a state of dysregulation. As their pupils start contracting again, you can see that then they're coming back, their system is coming back into a relaxed state. If you go to hold their hand, you will feel either they'll have very sweaty hands, and as soon as obviously that stops a little bit, you'll know that they're starting to regulate. You will be there as the presence and obviously the safety person that will support this process. And as soon as you start seeing them regulate, you can then say to them, it's safe to tell me how you're feeling. It's safe to experience the emotions that you're experiencing. It looks like you're having a moment of being really frustrated, and that's okay, and I'm here. And sometimes this is very hard to say when you're feeling triggered yourself, but remember that safety is the only way that will almost support a more regulated state. So that's why we talk about you coming into a place of safety first, and then you telling your child that it's safe to offload with you. When your child feels safe, they will definitely offload, and this is obviously when you'll see a lot of tears. You will see them almost open up, so they will completely open up to you. They won't be closed off anymore. They won't be saying go away. They'll just say, Mommy, you'll never guess what happened today at school, or I'm really tired, or I just don't feel like doing homework today. And at that point, listen to them. Really just, again, hold that presence and listen to them, because you want them to feel heard, you want them to feel seen. And from there, we can start going from regulation into reconnection. So when a child becomes dysregulated, when we as adults become dysregulated, we become disconnected from our feelings. From when we move through the process of recognizing that we're dysregulated, which is the awareness, moving into regulation, so understanding what's happening at that point in time where it's almost your child is riding the emotions and allowing that to take place. The third R, which is reconnection, is when you really come together to form that bond again, so that your child goes, okay, I can do this in the presence of you, Mom or Dad, and I feel safe to do it. Next time, this is probably going to we're going to go through this process a lot quicker and a lot easier. So the reconnection is probably the most important part of the regulation journey, because that's really where you actually want to connect from your neural perspective to their neural perspective. So your brains are almost in sync, and this is where you can start offering solutions, and where you can start actually saying to them, getting curious with them to say, what do you think we need to do next time we feel this way? And this is where the learning happens. This is where the foundation of resilience happens. So in an example where something may have happened at school today, your child comes home, you say, sit down, let's do homework. They start having a tantrum or a meltdown. You've now moved through the wave of emotion. Your child has not broken down in front of you and said, something really difficult happened today at school. One of my friends didn't want to play with me. a teacher shouted at me today, or I felt really embarrassed. So they've opened themselves up, and now is your opportunity to say, I'm really sorry that you felt that way today. It must have been incredibly hard to feel like that. And an amazing way to form reconnection is to actually tell them a story of when you have experienced something similar when you were little. And if you say to them, can I tell you a little bit about when I felt embarrassed when I was your age? And you will actually see their eyes light up, because they'll go, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in this process. You've been through this before, which doesn't make me any different from you, and I can actually learn from you as a parent. So storytelling is wonderful in the space of reconnection, obviously getting closer, physical contact, giving them a hug, holding their hand. And then children have an amazing way of solving their own problems when they are regulated. So you can move into a space where you just get curious and you say to them, what will you do next time you feel like this? So tomorrow you might need to go to school and you might need to face the person that was mean to you. How do you think we should handle this? More than likely your child's going to say, well, I think I'm going to tell them that they made me upset, or they really hurt me, or I just want to make sure that they don't do that going forward again. So they will come up with a solution of, right, I want to confront the person that really made me upset, or I felt embarrassed today when my teacher shouted at me, but actually feeling embarrassed is okay. Maybe tomorrow I won't talk during class. So a lot of these solutions come up on their own, and all we need to do as parents and caregivers is just get curious. Once you've got to that moment where you've reconnected and you've established a little bit of a go-to plan or a solution to the problem, that's where you have this amazing opportunity to hug your child and say, today might have been a really hard day, but you know what? We can do hard things. So this is where we build on those foundations of resilience. You can say to your child, what you've experienced today is completely normal. It's not going to be the first time, but you know what? I've got you, and we can do this together. And that's the moment where you forge that unbreakable bond and connection. And giving your child a hug in that moment, experiencing them hugging you back, and then taking a moment to just look how you've gone through the journey of regulation. The more we do that successfully, the more the brain realizes, I can do this over and over again. And with repetition, what that does is it actually grounds resilience in ourselves and our children at the same time. So give that a try this week. Let us know what you find, the insights that you get from your child. Take note of your child's facial expressions. Take note of your bodily sensations. What's happening when you're triggered? What's happening when you come out of being triggered? Give us some feedback, but give it a try and see how it goes.